everybody. Welcome to Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network. I am your host, Mark, and today I'm joined by Justin Young and Tom McCullough from South of Eden. These guys were so much fun to have on the show that I'm going to go ahead and anoint them the newest comedy team in rock. They've got an EP out called The Talk and a full-length album on the way. They've also got some cool covers, either out or possibly on the way, or maybe they're just drawing album covers. I don't know, they're a little vague on that one. And they give me the rundown on why they changed their name from Black Coffee to South of Eden, and they actually considered using the new originals, which is one reason why I love these guys. And if you know that reference, I love you too. I also get two sides of the same story where Justin thwarts a robbery with some consequences while touring. Follow them on social media, they're not hard to find. Follow us at Performance ANX, subscribe, rate, and review. And if you like the shows we're putting out, feel free to check us out at ko-fi.com. It's ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety and buy us a cup of coffee. There's no commitment necessary. Now get ready for South of Eden on Performance Anxiety, part of the Pantheon Podcast Network.
Hello everyone, my name is Tom. I play the drums for South of Eden. I'm sitting here on Performance Anxiety Podcast with my good friend here. What's your name, friend?
Oh, hello. My name is Justin Young, and I am the guitar player of the band South of Eden, and you're listening to the Performance Anxiety Podcast.
Thank you. Cheers. Is there a writer that you can do for interviews? Like, they have to be able to cuss.
Yeah, exactly. That should be in the first email. And hey, yeah, we'd love to have you on, or we'd love to be on your show, but, you know, we cuss a lot.
We cuss a lot.
Be prepared.
You gotta be.
I've been listening to the EP, and I want to get into it. I love it. I think it's got a very unique sound, especially nowadays, because to me it sounds like the stuff that I was listening to back when I was in high school in I don't know, late 80s, early 90s.
Hell yeah.
So that's
Thank you, man. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, honestly, that's fucking great to hear. Honestly, from somebody, you know, we love hearing that, because our fan base here that we played everywhere. Honestly, it ranges drastically, and
really?
Yeah, we've heard that. You know, that like it sounds like the music I grew up on, which is great because that's the music we grew up on.
That's awesome.
Because we were in high school in, you know, somewhere between
the 21st century.
Yeah, the 21st century. So we were, but neither of us were really listening to Nicki Minaj and Ariana Grande and stuff. But
that's good.
I guess that's kind of where the sound came from, because I'm we both are the original fanatics about like the way we record. We don't record to a click track. We recorded this album to tape. When we go in and we record the tracks, we do it, you know, pretty much as they did it in the 70s. Like me, Nick, and Justin will go in there, lay down the bass, drums, and guitar, and then we'll do vocals afterwards.
Okay.
And
all dub stuff. Like dub, like we get like the, you know, tracks and stuff, and we'll go in and do solos and shit like that.
And that's the thing that I've always loved about like 70s music is it's because music in the 60s and before is really raw. Yeah. And that's why I love it. But then when you get into the 70s, it's like this weird twilight. 70s and early 80s.
Maybe you should save this for when we're on.
Oh, shit.
Oh, we're on. I'm recording already.
Oh shit! What?
Man,
I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, this is cool. I mean, I go with the Neil Young theory of always record everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's perfect.
Yep. Absolutely.
For that reason.
I mean, Neil Young.
I'm sorry. Please continue.
I mean, Neil. There was this time in history class, and this is because I've always been the geek with vintage music. Yeah. Well, we both have, but in high school, before I knew him, I was the geek, and so he pulled up "Rockin' in the Free World," and I was like, "Oh man, this is a kick-ass song from the '70s," and I'm like 14, right? And he's like. Looks at me and he's like, dude, this song came out in like the 90s. This is, what are you about? He's like, 1,000 Points of Light was George H.W. Bush. And I was like, no, you're wrong. So I just die on this hill in front of my entire class. Who are all like, dude, Tommy's the guy with long hair. He's the rock dude. He pulls it up. It's like, what, 89?
91.
Yeah, completely proves me wrong. I'm like, damn, But what blew me away about that is because I loved that song my whole life and thought it was from the 70s.
Wow.
But it's recorded in the 90s and it doesn't sound like anything from the 90s. And that's because it's Neil Young and he's that old school hippie, get in a room, don't think too much, just hit the fucking record button and play, you know?
Yeah. You can... Crazy Horse doesn't change its sound. I mean, from... Even though it's gone through a few guitarists, Crazy Horse just always sounds like Crazy Horse.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
I love the bands, like, you know, it's like Neil Young and Crazy Horse, or like who's the band we saw with Kenny Wayne Shepherd?
Double Trouble.
Trouble.
Oh yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan's original backing band. Yeah.
We saw this dude took me to Second Row Van Halen.
That's a crazy story.
That's a great story. That's a
whole chain of events. So
really,
this was like 2015. So this was the last tour that they did, and
with DLR,
with Dave, and so they were doing amphitheater tours during the summer. And at the time, I was like still in school and stuff, and like I had like been working and got a pretty decent amount, like a decent chunk on my tax returns. I was like, I don't have anything else to do with it. I'm going to blow it on Van Halen tickets.
Nice.
So they only played at Red Rocks Amphitheater one time in their career.
Wow.
Because they're a really famous show in like, I think 95, where they played in Colorado, but it wasn't at Red Rocks, but it was an outside amphitheater, and it was literally snowing. Like, so you'll see pictures of the show, and like they're playing outside, and it is snowing.
Wow.
But that was the only time that they had played at Red Rocks, and I'd never been. So I'm like, I have to go. So I was like, have to go, like, get cheap seats just for that experience, whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then 2 weeks after that, they were playing in Cleveland at the Blossom Music Center. And for that, like, I went all out. I was like, okay, I'm getting like second row seats, like right in front of Eddie.
Fucking VIP.
Do like the whole, like, come in early and watch sound check and stuff. And at the time I was seeing this girl, and that, you know, we'll save that. We all know that happened.
I was gonna say, Tom just gave you a look.
Oh yeah, well yeah. So
well, wait for the rest of the
that
story.
crashed and burned. And well, I don't have anybody to go see. Who am I going to take to see Van Halen? And I'm like, you know, I'm not like going to get my money back from this. I don't want to sell a ticket. I want to take somebody for an experience. And I'm like, I got to freaking take Tommy. I'm like, Tommy has got to freaking go. Tommy's like the biggest Ludwig, like, drum fan I've ever known. Alex Van Halen's played Ludwig's his whole career. So that's like a big win, Tommy.
Oh yeah. Like, I love Alex Van Halen.
And I called you, and you were like, oh man, I like the first words out of his mouth were like, man, I'd love to go, but like I can't afford like front row Van Halen tickets. And I was like, no, dude, just like come with me. And I
was working at a grocery store, and I was concerned because I was like, dude, I don't know if I can take Monday off. Oh, it was a wonderful scoundrel, like, teaching from the wise man, Justin. Right. He was like, bro, screw work.
Dude,
come to Van Halen. And I was like, dude, you're right. It was the craziest show I've ever seen, man.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
They call me old. I'm only 4 years older than everybody in the band. Than the youngest purple person in the band, which is Ehab, right? You're
by 2 months.
Okay. Yeah. So they make me feel like the freaking awesome.
Oh man. Well, the guys just stick together, because the longer you guys are together, the less that gap will mean.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, no, dude, it'll never end though, because I don't care. I'll be 56 and he'll be turning 60, and I'll be like, "What's up, Grandpa?"
Yeah.
6-0.
Yeah, like
6 decades.
I do that. I do that with my sister-in-law. She's like 3 or 4 months older than me, and I was like, "Well, you're always going to be older than me. Yeah. We may be the same age, but technically you're a little older."
Technically, you were first. Yeah,
exactly.
Meaning 2 months to the day apart.
Wow.
He just kills me with it. He's like, "Yeah, but I'm younger than you." I'm like, "Oh, shut up, dude."
Yeah.
Like 2 months.
So how did you guys first meet?
Well, my dad has played drums for like 30 years, and he was in a band with this really killer now recording studio owner and producer Joe Veers here in Columbus.
Okay.
And so he's a badass, and I grew up with him and his kids. And Justin went to school with my older brother, but moved away. And I remember one day I got a text from my brother who was going to OSU at the time. And he was like, hey, man, I gave my number to this really killer guitar player I know from school. Like, you should jam with him. And I literally texted him back. I was like, Nick, please don't give my number out to your stoner friends who sit around and play acoustic on the shoot.
I think it was to be specific, it was don't whore my number out.
Yeah, don't whore my number out. And I'm like 15, right?
Yeah.
So like, no, he's in a band with Glenn and Bob Veers. And I was like, yo, hold up. Those guys are legit. So we went over and jammed and I got in that band, and we were in that band together for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
I think.
I don't know that it was necessarily that long.
It was a little bit.
I think it was closer to like 3 going on 4. I don't think it was a full 5 years.
We say somewhere between 3 and 5.
Okay. 300. That's how long or no, fuck. That's wrong.
I was like, what?
That's a year. Damn, whatever. 4 years and 1 day. That's what I'll give you.
A year and a day.
All right. So, Tom,
but Ehab and Nick, they played in a band together. Very similar situation. They've known each other since they were little kids.
Okay.
And so we were in this band, and they were in that band, and we knew each other through the scene. And then old Justin here up and moved to Boston on me.
Oh.
And he broke up that original band.
I did not break up that original band.
Broke up the original band.
No, I didn't. Do you remember what broke up the original band?
Well, yeah, the singer quit.
Okay, yeah.
The singer quit, and then he moved to Berkeley like instantly.
It was sure. It was all in the plan. But I was like trying to like promote and pump the EP we had just recorded and released like 3 months prior to it. But you know. Never mind that.
So he goes to Boston at the same time. Nick goes to Boston, and Ehab hasn't played anything for like a year. So I take the remnants of that band, Plain Old Henry, that me and him were in, and Ehab comes in and sings, and he sings with us for like 8 months. And then Justin came back on winter break, and that was the first time me, him, and Ehab ever jammed.
Oh, cool.
And that was pretty banging.
And did you guys know immediately there was something there?
Yeah, it was. That's what I'm saying. It was like the first time ever that I've like played and just been like, boom, this is it.
Oh, it was instantaneous because it was like, for me, because I was playing with all these like really crazy players at Berkeley, but it was almost like there was too much emphasis on like just being by yourself and like practicing on your own for like 8 hours a day, which obviously there's nothing you can do but get better when you're shedding away by yourself, which like I was really fortunate to have the opportunity to do. But I was like, man, like who's playing shows like outside of like, you know, the 2-3 little performances you have in your, you know, for your semester or whatever with, you know, in your ensembles and shit. Like there weren't really that many freaking guys going out and like playing in bands and trying to like actually
really
make. Yeah, it was very surprising to me. Now, I mean, there were like the jazz cats, like there's always that scene, and they always go out to the long jam nights at the certain spot on Tuesday nights and then this spot on Thursday. You know, there's always that scene and stuff, but like nobody really wanted to be in a rock band.
Wow.
So when I was back and I came home for that winter break, I was content. You know what I mean? I had like 3 semesters left. I was like, just going to ride it out and go get my degree and figure it out. But when we played together, it was like, I was like, I have not had this much fun playing my instrument in years. It had literally been years at that point. And I was like, something's off here. So luckily we all followed that feeling, like, cause it led to, I mean, things that haven't even, I mean, it's crazy. You know, we were just talking about it not too long ago about like just certain little things will happen throughout the day or throughout the week. And we'll be like, could you imagine if you told like 14-year-old Tommy this, that, like, you'd be like, okay, yeah, like cool, like done, made it. Like that's like, that's so it's like, it's pretty unbelievable, the stuff that's happened to us.
Yeah. It's really been a crazy ride. And especially we went on with the three of us for a while under the name Black Coffee, and then we switched to South of Eden after we got Nick in on bass.
Yeah.
And it's just been ever since then, man, it's been personal musicianship is going on a real fast track. And then like, it feels like the songwriting and the stuff that we're coming up with is just like, I'm not a third person, so I can't say whether it's better or not, but it's a lot of fun to play. Like the shit that we're writing now is just the shit that we've been coming out with.
Yeah. It's always the next best thing to us. You know what I mean? It's always just like it's been a little bit thrown off with this year with the COVID stuff,
but I bet, yeah.
We recorded these. That's a whole other thing. Talk rambling. Okay. That's a whole, this is like with our song, The Talk. I mean, Ehab wrote those lyrics. I mean, the in these trying times, that was written in the like June of 2019.
These trying times, things they spoke, time won't mend the child's provoked. Quick inside, don't run or hide. Fail as fearful faces you decide. What do you want?
Wow.
So like and it's just kind of like freaky how that kind of like happened, you know what I mean? And it was just like, okay, that's kind of crazy. So we were in full steam ahead, like, any other touring musician who's getting ready to tour this year, like, okay, let's go and rock this thing. And we're here. So we're, still writing, obviously, but it's like, man, we have all this material that people haven't even heard yet. We have to go play all this stuff, which is great because hopefully it translates, live in the performances that were tight and, it opens us up to not think as much and have fun with it.
Right. So how did you guys meet up with Nick, the guy who ended up becoming your bassist?
Well, like I said, him and Ehab played in bands for all through high school and stuff.
Yeah.
Another tiny little
the side note
detail in that is the fact that when I was in Boston for Berkeley, Nick was playing in a band in Boston because he had followed guys that I went to school with who had also gone to Berkeley, and they were like the only rock band there that was actually playing out of Boston, but they all had their members and they were all no room for there's no 3 guitar players.
Yeah.
So
no Skinner stuff in Boston.
So we were in Boston at the same time. Like it was just kind of weird. So we came back like, he wasn't there in the beginning. I think he might have come back
4 or 5
Boston,
months.
maybe probably another semester for probably like 6 months or something like that. But so there was always that. Well, no, but you figure for like moving out, all that shit. I mean, if you're there, anyways. So there was always that high school connection between him and Ehab and them playing in bands together, and he. Well, he's like, we had always kind of coveted him, like looked at him as like one of the best bass players in Columbus. Fit the image. Like he plays awesome. He's got great tone. He's got great feel. And like just to have because the three of us, Tommy, Ehab, and I, were so tight in such like a, not only just like a music way, but just as people and as friends, like it just made sense. It's like, okay, this is somebody who we already know Ehab trusts. Yeah. So it's like, it's not as hard to just bring somebody in, kind of off the streets, so to speak.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. We had kind of come to the decision that we were like, well, Ehab is a great vocalist and he's a great bass player. But when he's trying to do 2 things of, like that at once, it was like, we knew that to reach that next level of performance that we wanted to, we had to free him up to let that voice be his number one. To let him do the front man thing. Because, we played like a 3-piece. It was a lot of jams. It was not a lot of talking in between songs, there was a lot of singing, but still, so we had
very like Cream.
Yeah, it was very Cream-ish. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Really angry Cream.
Yeah, well, yeah, a little bit more.
It was Cream, spicy Cream.
Yes. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Spicy Cream.
I don't know. Maybe you guys should have changed your name to Spicy Cream.
Spicy Cream, right? Dude. But we had been cycling through bass players trying to find like we had put the word out like, hey, we're looking for somebody. And we had basically cycled through all of the people that we were trying out. We were kind of talking through that. And then Nick hit us up and was like, hey, is that spot still open? And we're like, yeah, buddy, come on down. So he came up and we just, we jammed and it was really tight and awesome. And it was like, okay, are you interested? He was like, yeah, are you interested? We're like, have been, bud. You're a little late to the party. Hop on in. So he got immediately like, and it's funny because Nick is the he's the odd man out in terms of like musical taste and stuff, because we're all rockers, metalheads, and he's just as much of a rocker and metalhead, but he also likes Don Broco and
oh wow,
who are some.
I mean, he likes a lot. He likes a lot of alternative.
Yeah, he likes a lot of like the newer, like he really gets off on like all kinds of new pop and stuff like that. So whenever he writes a song, it definitely sounds like a pop song. But we were. I'll let you take a guess which song in the EP was kick-started by Nick.
Yeah.
That has a Nick feel to it. Yeah.
So your sound is a definite throwback for me. And like I said at the very beginning, that it sounds like the stuff I was listening to when I was in high school back in the late 80s, early 90s. Is that coming back, or are you guys one of a few bands doing that in the area, or is that sound more unique to just you guys? Because I haven't heard music like that. I mean, it honestly, to me, it sounds like some of the really awesome bands that came out of LA back in the late 80s, early 90s, like you, the band are behind you, Guns N' Roses, or first of all, I guess I want to know, is that a trend that's going to be starting back up? And B, how are the audiences responding to you guys when you were out playing? Because we've had to stop that for a while.
It's a really good question, because the first part was like to our local scene, I guess. It's two things here. It's like really heavy rock, almost metal. Okay. And a lot of metal, actually. And then it's country. And there's a lot of who love rock and roll here, like, because Columbus is it's in between, Cincinnati and Cleveland and Pittsburgh, and it's not a steel town per se, but it's still a blue collar, kind of like a hard,
it's cow town.
Yeah, it's they nicked Columbus cow town. So, it's a growing city in the middle of a farmland. So. Right. A huge love for rock and roll, but not a lot of bands are like playing it. There's not a lot of young people who are going out and writing their own songs and doing like the just rock and roll thing. It's kind of a little bit more on the heavier side. Okay.
A lot of really great metal. I mean, Beartooth came out of Columbus. Absolutely. If you're familiar with them, they're modern, heavy stuff. But they're really heavy.
Starset is another one. I don't really know what they're. I guess they're kind of rock and the alternative.
Yeah, they were more alternative, I think.
21 Pilots, I mean, my God.
Oh, yeah.
They're what, 15, 20 minutes, grew up away from right here. Here we pretty much grew up in the backyard. So, yeah.
So there's a lot going on musically in Columbus, but not a lot not a lot of like the bare bones type rock. There's a lot of really cool like alternative. There's a band called LDD, Liberty Deep Down, that's really cool that we like out here. And Harmless Habit, which is the next other band. And but that's it, man. I mean, there's not too many young
to the point of
bands.
like the influences, like probably where you're getting that the Guns N' Roses thing from is like that's one of Ehab and Nick's like biggest influences are Axl and Duff, and like obviously that's just like one of a lot with them. Like Ehab really. Michael Jackson and freaking Prince, and like we all love all of those.
Oh, artists. I can definitely hear those influences in the vocals.
Oh yeah. And he because he does a lot with his melody, and I guess it kind of, because Tommy and I like come from that older school, like almost like late 60s into the 70s, where it's like this, it's Sabbath and Zeppelin and early Van Halen and like Deep Purple and all that stuff. And so I think when we like bring those like influences together, that's kind of like what you get. And I think like that has a definite natural, I guess, kind of throwback to like maybe that late 80s thing. But I hear a lot of times people, and this is like, I try to, like Tommy said, like I try to stay kind of like out of it, but like I hear a lot. It's like you guys sound like kind of vintage, like 70s, but then also there's this like 90s grunge thing kind of like almost going on.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, so it's really cool to like hear that there's a little bit of everything, because like that's the honest truth to it is like, you know, it's 2020, you know what I mean? Like there's so, my God, like you're talking about 50 years plus worth of, just speaking of our influences, and then all the music that's come out since then,
right?
That's in movies and American pop culture, like everywhere. We're influenced by it's, you know, you can't get away from those songs. So it's definitely, we're not like thinking like, oh, we have to write like this certain way. It's just, it's what we like. Tommy likes playing drums that were made in the 70s, you know, or earlier. I like playing with a certain tone because it's the way that I like to hear my guitar sound. It's not really like I have to copy this thing. So I'm grateful for the fact that the one thing that stuck out and the feedback that we've gotten is that it's a unique sound, because I think that's what we're after, is we're trying to create our own sound and have our own brand, so to speak, because I think at the end of the day, that's how you actually build a band that is sustainable and lasts and can grow the way that you want to be true to yourselves, you know, obviously, and create, you know, something unique and fresh.
Well, I think you guys nailed it, especially considering the prevailing trends now. It's straight ahead rock and roll.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's huge hunger for it.
Oh yeah. But here's the thing. It happens. It's so cyclical. And because if you look at it, I'd say maybe every 10 to 15 years, things just kind of start to cycle back. Yeah, because if you look at the concept of just straight up rock and roll, you look at the 70s and 80s, it was straight up rock and roll meant 50s stuff. You know, Neil Young put out his Neil Young and the Blue Notes album.
Yep.
You look at the 80s and 90s, when they said straight up rock and roll, it was more bluesy British Invasion stuff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
In the 2000s, they said straight up rock and roll, everybody meant punk. And so now, you know, if you say straight up rock and roll, it's the later sound. Like, to me, like I said, your sound is more late 80s rock. It's the stuff that came out of LA and all. And that sounds, especially considering what's popular now, that's straight up rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, that's what I love about rock music is there's been somebody playing real rock since the day.
Yeah.
You know, every single decade you can find somebody in there playing rock the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
And it was explained to me real well one time with the whole grunge thing, because I'm a big fan of grunge. I love all the grunge bands. I was raised on it. My dad loved them. And he was like, well, the reason you like grunge is because they're a 60s, like the whole grunge thing was a 60s throwback.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, dude, look at them. They're rebellious. They're super fuck the system. They're super raw, no overdubs, all the weird off notes, all the weird shit.
Everything
they left. They performed with hardly any stage lights. They just walked out in their t-shirts, just played, and then walked off stage.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh my God. He was like, yeah, but they didn't grow up in the 50s. They grew up in the 80s. So it's just music that was coming out of them in their soul, just what they had been influenced by, but they just did it in a 60s style. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. And that's kind of like where our blend comes in, because we really love and appreciate the music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, especially.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's, in my opinion, when it was the most real, the least filtered, you know, and grunge was kind of a reset to what happened in the late 80s, which was like glam and like, you know, I won't name any names or anything, but we all know that story.
Right.
So it was getting a little inflated. Grunge came in and popped the bubble. I won't speak to the music industry nowadays, but I feel like it's about time for the bubble to get popped. There's kind of that aggression, and there's kind of like that, and that's coming from us because we've grown up listening to this stuff, and we're like, man, more people in the world need to be doing this. Like, we need to go out here and do this the real way, but we got to do it good enough to like prove a point. You know, we got something to prove. We're the guys who have always been told wow, that's really weird. You guys don't record with a click, and how are you going to do this? And
how are you going to make it?
How are you going to make it not recording to a click? That's not the way the professionals do it. And we're like, right, no, this is our way.
Yeah,
this is our way. And so we fought that fight up until we met Greg. Up until we met and recorded with Greg Wells, we had fought that fight every single time anyone put a microphone on.
We had never been able to truly, like, with Black Coffee, with Take One, I feel like we got pretty freaking close.
Yeah, we got damn close.
We didn't record to a click then. Live, it was all the same thing, but
the songwriting is what really set it off. And Greg is just there's just this kind of aura about him, and I think that we clicked so well from the first conversation that we had with him, and it just developed into this awesome relationship and friendship, really. And he kind of gave us all the tools that we needed, so to speak, which really wasn't much. I mean, it was like, at the end of the day, this is your baby. This is what you're doing, because we didn't know what to expect. We're this is the big scary producer in LA that we're getting sent by our label to. I'm like, oh God, here it comes. Like, this is the fight that I've been told I'm going to have to go my whole life. And I was prepared. I was like, oh God, here we go. And we met Greg, and I was like, yeah, man. So I play a 26-inch kick drum. He's like, man, that's awesome. And I was like, whoa. I was like, hold up. I was like, wait a minute. It doesn't have a hole in the kick drum. He's like, great. I bet that thing's awesome. I can hear that on tape. And I was like, who are you? And then it was just open door freedom, like however we wanted to mic things, however we wanted to he mic'd it because we were like, hey, we want to hear how you sound. But in terms of writing and in terms of the way we wanted to play stuff, man, it was just like the freest feeling in the world.
Yeah.
So how did you guys get hooked up with Greg Wells, who's done work with Adele, 21 Pilots, Deftones? How did you guys get hooked up with him, and how did that whole experience go?
That was it's a great question. I mean, that was something that we had made a very extensive list, and we had put these names of producers who were like, this guy clearly has no interest in doing our stuff, right? But we're going to put it on here anyway. We're just boom, 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 just making these lists. And then all of a sudden we're having conversations with these, I guess out of respect, I won't name names, but names of somebody that you've mentioned already, in this conversation, flag banner hanging up in band room. And we're
follow the clues.
And so, people like that. And one person had listened to Take One and literally I was so blown away by it that he had literally taken notes of not just each song, but verse by bar. He's reading. Wow. He's like, man, this is what, he's like, man, I love it. And we were just so blown away. And Greg at the beginning was kind of this outlier in a way, because it was awesome freaking bands and artists that he's worked with names you named, Katy Perry, all these mega hits.
Yeah.
And awesome freaking albums. They sound amazing. It's my favorite 21 that's my favorite 21 Pilots album that they have personally. And just from the moment that I get that we talked to him, because he took the call and we were working with the little information that we had, which was, hey, we're thinking about getting into this deal with Lava. We're a little uneasy because we're a rock band. We've heard our whole lives getting into record deals.
As a rock band
early on is scary. So we're trying to feel out that, but then also we're trying to get somebody on our our side here, so to speak, and see who we want to work with before we even get in conversation. And lo and behold, it became this perfect match, because not only did we hit it off with Greg immediately, just in ideals and what we wanted to do, like Tommy was saying earlier, but Greg and Lava, Jason Flom, you know, they had always kind of wanted to work together, and it had never really quite worked out.
Oh, really?
So it was just kind of this beautiful little kind of, it was an accident, kind of like happened, you know really what I mean? Well. And Greg, when he heard, I'll never forget when he and I had a conversation for the first time, it was like, he said that when he heard our album, he like from take one, he was like, man, I've been waiting for years for a rock band to like come about and that I like actually like really want to work with. And to hear that come from him was like mind blowing. Yeah, so that was yeah, I mean, it was awesome. And the experience with him couldn't have been better. It couldn't have been smoother. We got the most amazing sounds that I think we could have ever hoped for. And, you know, obviously you want to strive to make them better, you know, as your career goes along.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. The thing that I'm hearing from you guys is that a lot of what's going on around the band focuses on perfect timing. Everything seems to be just falling into place nice and easy, and the timing is just right for everything.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things that I've ever heard come out of anybody's mouth is that luck is just when opportunity and preparation meet.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like when you're gonna get, that's what I like, one thing to tell anybody, any like young musician, just like, man, I'm trying to sell the, you know, tickets to my show that's coming up on Saturday because we've been there, and you got to hit this amount or else the freaking guy who's promoting it's gonna freaking charge you. And then sometimes you lose 14 tickets at $25 a head, and then you have to pay it. I really hate that happens, don't you, Justin? I hate it, and it's terrible. Like, I hate just like you have to go through and you have to keep pushing forward because like I mean literally you never know what can happen, and at some point you are going to get your opportunity. It's just, did you stick with it long enough, and are you prepared enough, and are you going to be prepared for when it happens? And we've still got a lot of miles to go. We talk about, we literally talk about that every day. Yeah, we talk about how we have not even scratched the surface of, because I mean we want to hit the road, we want to go play. Yeah, we want to be at the end of the tour level, like when we play our first show. You know, because like I said again, this was supposed. You know, we were hoping to get our sea legs and road legs, so to speak, underneath us, and our miles underneath us this year to really build up our stage show and our performances and create kind of like a standard and keep it growing. So now it's kind of like it's even made us want to start off even more. Yeah, even more, because it's just like, my God. Yeah, because we're also just have like it's weird because obviously the whole situation with not being able to tour and all that stuff really sucks. But the one silver lining kind of that's in it for us is that we've had a lot of time to kind of just shut into ourselves and like figure out little details, like figure out little stage show things. Cause we were, early Van Halen and AC/DC, we both raised on, that stuff. I was raised on Dio, 80s era Ozzy, like early Randy Rhoads type year stuff. And for me, it's like, if you could just channel that, in the way that we do, in the same way that we do everything, which is that's kind of the idea we want to go through, but obviously we're just going to do it our way. And so we've been doing a lot of thinking about silly things like, like light show and that kind of stuff. And I think we've run through different set lists over our head. I don't know how many times. I mean, like, this better be the best show. Like, this better be the best. We have put a lot of work into this. Yeah. We have thought about a lot of details when you're getting down to the details of specific bass drum patterns. And well, we won't delve into that. And make but I'm saying when you have when you get to that point, it's like, okay, you've been rehearsing a lot. Now it's time to go on the road and get your. Now it's time to stop. Yeah, I'll leave that.
So you guys used to be called Black Coffee.
Yes.
What spurred the name change, and why did you pick South of Eden?
Well, the simplest answer is that we really don't enjoy getting sued.
Okay.
It wasn't even
that
so
works.
Much
we didn't. Hold on, let me finish.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so Nick got in the band, and it really just felt like a different band. Like we all just felt like it was just different. It was just taking us, it took us up that platform that we wanted to really go up. And we knew we wanted to do that. And so we were writing differently. We were playing differently. We were all that stuff. And that was just the general vibe of the band, was this changeover period. And then there was this other musical artist named Black Coffee, owns all the copyrights. Well, you can't write Black Coffee.
You can't. It's kind of like an undefinable term, but it's still like when you would go and Google it, it's like, hey, did you know there's a Black Coffee? When you go and tell people it on Spotify, he has all the blue check marks. He's a very, very popular artist.
He's spotted
featured on a Drake album.
Yeah, Drake. And he's big time.
So it was one of the, it was a good problem to have, because it was like we didn't think that it was going to be a problem, because we never thought that it would matter. You know what I mean?
Well, hey, half of marketing for bands is all search engine marketing and search engine optimization. Yep. So I can imagine Black Coffee would have been a nightmare. It'd be like Spiral Ham.
Yeah, right, exactly. Just throw,
That hurts me so much though, because back in the day, before the internet, 40 years live, I remember those days.
Yeah.
When you could name your band Cream or the Doors or the Beatles or the Turtles and get away with it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the old line of Spinal Tap, we were the originals, but then we found out there was another band called the Originals, and so we had to be the new originals.
We heavily considered the new originals. We heavily considered that, but we were like, we can't. People think we're a Spinal Tap tribute band. Yeah. I mean, we kind of are.
Listen, we might start that. We'll open
the new originals.
That would be amazing. A buddy of mine, his brother's in a band. I used to do a sports podcast, and a buddy of mine, Eric, his brother is an actor out in LA. I don't know if you guys ever watched Smallville.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, his brother was Lex Luthor. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So he's got a band. Lex, his name's Michael Rosenbaum. He had a band. They used to just play around, and they called themselves Shit Sandwich.
Sure.
So that was...
The Rolling gave the album a 2-word review.
Yeah.
Simply Shit Sandwich.
You can't print that.
You can't print that.
So they started to get a little more serious, and they're like, I don't think we can call ourselves Shit Sandwich anymore.
Go by Shit Sandwich. I don't know, man. I think the power play would have been to keep going by Shit Sandwich.
That's what I would tell them. But they changed it. They shortened it to just the Sandwich.
That's almost better.
That's all.
That's almost better. Just the name of the band is just Sandwich.
It was for like a year, and then they decided they were going to actually record an album, and so they're like, I don't think the Sandwich sounds serious. And the bassist is a friend of mine named Carl, and if you guys ever watch the show Ballers on HBO, he played TTD.
Okay.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So
yeah,
he awesome dude, Carl McDowell. So
that's awesome.
He is the bassist, and so he's been on the show a couple times, and we were talking, and he's like, I like Shit Sandwich, man, but like, what's the new name? He's like, they want to call it Left on Laurel. So
that's not bad.
That's actually pretty cool. Yeah.
See, I didn't like it. Basically, it was just directions to his house.
Yeah,
that's why it's cool.
Yeah, we had when we were like going through the road that we recorded take 1 on was called No Bigsby Road, and No was spelled Noe, and we were like, that's like interesting. So we were like, what if we went by No Bigsby? We have a song now that's working titled No Bigsby. We might actually just keep it that name.
Yeah, because that was definitely written at No Bigsby.
Yeah, it was actually
nice.
But so I get that. That's cool.
So how did you guys decide on South of Eden?
Are we gonna do it? We're gonna do this.
I feel like I'm being set up here.
Well, man, when I came up with the name, Tom McCullough, the fourth here, when I came up with the name South of Eden, man, I mean, to put it simply, it was like 2001, man, and that's what was happening at the time.
I can't do that. I can't do that.
Do it.
Because if there were 4 of us, it would be like, okay, but
the joke is we all claim very fervently that we came up when I came up with the name, and then we all just tell like some bullshit story.
Nice.
About how
I have to have all 4 of you guys on, and then
I know
redo
honestly,
it.
I don't remember. I don't quite.
Herding the four of us together for anything but band practice is
hard.
very different.
Very, very.
Like we're always hanging in 2-man pairs. You know what I mean? At all times, like two of us are together and the other two are together, like hanging out for doing whatever.
And it's always a different group too. It's always like it's like
yeah, but fighting them 3 times a week for practice is 3-4 times for practice. That's hard enough.
So Ehab and Nick are doing another podcast right now.
They did one earlier this week.
Oh, okay.
Or earlier today.
Yeah.
Man, so I wasn't even wrong. Holy crap.
Hey.
Yeah, we were like, hey, let's split them up today.
We hung out later.
Yeah, see, you guys got on the better show.
Yeah,
yep,
you know what
exactly.
I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
See,
I mean, who the hell actually listens to Joe Rogan anyway?
Right.
So when you guys go into to record, are the songs already written? Do you guys do a lot of jamming in the studio, working things out in the studio, or are you guys basically pretty much prepared and you know what you want once you get in there?
Well, when we went into work on this album with Greg, we had allotted, was it 3 or 4 weeks
of practice?
4 weeks at the rehearsals. Yeah, so we had this rehearsal space for about 4 weeks, where we just, clearly we treated it kind of like a Monday to Friday, like 9 to 5. You know what I mean? Like
right.
Just kind of go and figure it out. And we had several songs that we had brought with us. And several songs that we brought with us didn't end up on the album, but the majority of the ones that we knew were the strongest wound up on it. So it's I'd say half the album was written before we got there, and we wrote a lot while we were also there. Like we wrote full songs while we were there.
Oh, cool.
So it's like a combination, and obviously the songs like grew and took new form. So like every song like probably changed a little bit, like maybe a chord, change here or there. But it was just adding more flavor to the songs and making them, it's like the songwriting thing, is the more we play, the better that we, feel like we get as songwriting players. So it's a feeling out process, and we just kind of, like I said, use those 4 weeks to get together and come up with the best tunes that we possibly could have. And we came up with almost like 20 songs.
Oh, wow.
And we kind of narrowed them down and narrowed them down and narrowed them down. And we wound up like recording 12 or 13.
And then we called that down.
And then we cut. Yeah, we wound up going with 2 albums. So we've got some starters, and honestly, like, we write so much to where it's like we've written more stuff that we're even more excited about, like even within the last couple of months, even awesome. The last. So
yeah, we're always writing. There's never a time when we're not writing. It's just when we go into the studio. Well, I mean, the one time that we've been in the studio where we've had the time allotted to be able to be like, okay, we're going to take 4 weeks, 9 to 5,
nothing else.
Every day. This is what we do for a job now.
We're musicians.
Yay! We did it for a month. But the thing that did is it just kicked the songwriting into overdrive.
Okay.
Yeah. And then one of the great things that Greg did, actually, I'm going to credit him with this, is he just kept the ball rolling on songwriting. He wasn't like, okay, let's pick 8.
Don't take too much.
Yeah, let's pick 8, or 10 that we're going to take into the studio and let's rehearse those for a week. He was like, no, rehearsal is writing. So we would go in every day, and we obviously ended up running all the songs like pretty often.
You get a couple days beforehand, and you just do nothing but play them through.
Yeah, but we had like Justin said, between the songs we wrote before we got there and the songs that we had after, we had somewhere around like 20 songs.
Oh wow!
And he was just all the way up until 3 days before, he was like, let's just keep running all of them, every single one of the 20. Let's just cycle them through every couple days. We'll run and so we did that, and then about like Justin said, like about 3 days before, we were like, okay, here's like the 12 or 13 that we're like really going to do for real.
Okay.
And so then we spent those days jamming those, but still by the time we went into the studio, man, we weren't like 100% on, we were still writing in the studio.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Which I think was Greg's intention.
Yeah.
Because that's how you keep things real free spirited and real open to change, and messing around with it is right then,
So is the songwriting really collaborative between the 4 of you guys, or is somebody just bringing in a song and saying, hey, this is what I want to hear?
It's completely collaborative. There'll be guys, like, a lot of times Ehab will come with like a skeleton basis, and then we'll kind of sit around, learn it, add maybe a verse, add bridges. Hey, maybe we switch this around here, add the, what if you did this, stuff like that. So there's always, there's songs that it's vice versa. It happens all the time. And I think that every guy kind of gets his licks in, so to speak. So there's always like really nobody's stepping on each other's toes. We always give each other the freedom to talk and do what they do best. I mean, Tommy you were the one that probably, Ehab writes 90% of the lyrics, but you're the one that he actually helped with lyrics.
Yeah, I don't help whatsoever with notes, progressions. I don't know what those are. I couldn't name a scale. So I'm just, that's the string department. I don't go there. So I do drums. And I help write poems. Now you'll notice what I said there. I don't help. I kind of help with melodies, but I write poems. So I can help with a rhyme or two if I need to. But other than that, I stick strictly to my drums.
So the EP is out. When is the full length coming out?
Hopefully, we're shooting for by the end of the year. Okay. That all just ultimately turns into and some change. Yeah. So saying like
show business,
like the end of the year, beginning of next year, is I think you won't be waiting much past February.
Oh, awesome. Is it going to be completely different songs from the EP, or is the EP just like a teaser for the album?
Yeah, the EP was more or less treated as exactly right, a teaser, an appetizer, essentially, for the 10-song album. So the 4 songs that you have on the EP will be as is on the record, and there'll be 6 new songs that you haven't heard yet.
I've heard rumors of you guys doing like an Audio Slave and an Elvis cover. Is that accurate?
See, he's got some inside information.
All right, yeah, because we premiered the Audio Slave. We played "Show Me How to Live." We did it live at Joe Veer's Sonic Lounge Studios in Columbus. A couple months ago, as part of kind of a little bit of a lot of stuff that we were doing in there at the time.
It was
making use of our extra time on our hands.
Okay.
But did not know that somebody knew about the Elvis cover.
So, sir, who'd you hear that? Where'd you get that little?
Whose neck do you have to wring? Let's just say I heard it on an interview somewhere.
That was Ehab.
So immediately
just okay.
But,
so
it's.
I was going to ask you if there's if you guys have a whole bunch of covers, or there's the only 2, and are they actually going to be coming out at all?
Mr. Young,
okay,
please,
Mr. McCullough.
As Mr. Young's attorney at law, I'm informing him that he is not allowed to speak right now.
Okay.
Audio Slave, something to do with Elvis. Maybe we just drew a picture of him. Okay. I don't know. Beyond that, unfortunately, is classified top secret, my dude.
I can understand.
And, or it was classified top secret. Who knows who may have leaked what? But
there's a leaker in the system somewhere.
As of right now,
he or she will be found.
Those are classified code 1. So we will keep those. We'll keep those as surprises for you guys.
So perhaps the Elvis cover was just you drew a cover of one of Elvis's albums.
Boom! Hey, that is an Elvis cover.
Your words, not mine.
Burn off our fingerprints.
We're good.
We're clean.
You guys are still writing, and do you guys get the chance to actually play together often with all the COVID nonsense going around?
Yeah, I mean we're like practically like living together. You know what I mean? Like, so we're around each other every day. I mean we as it is, we're kind of like so busy with our work schedules, because we're all working. We're not making a whole lot of money off of this right now, not touring. Yeah. So we all kind of individually just naturally keep a tight knit, as it is, with our families and stuff. Yeah. And it's kind of, I think like everybody's been doing, just communicating like, hey, such and so, whatever. And there was a time a couple weeks ago where I had a sinus infection, had to call off from work, and I went and all clear, everything came back negative, thank God. So, So we're doing the best that we can with everything. I think like everybody else, and we're practicing 3 to 4 times a week. And because like I said, we're playing a show on Saturday, October 3rd, in our hometown in Columbus at Flanagan's Pub. Cool. And it is it's really exciting because we sold it out, and we're considering doing adding a second date to it. We're just so excited to kind of play for our fans again, and it's going to be a totally socially distanced concert. It's going to be very safe for everybody. We want everybody not only to feel safe but like comfortable. You know what I mean? I know that everybody, there's kind of the two sides of it. There's a lot of people who are really amped up and really want to get out and just live like normal. I think everybody wants to do that. And then there's also who are, at a higher risk than certain others. And some people, people who, feel more seriously about it, as well. So it's like, we want everybody to feel comfortable when they're there and can just sit down and listen to music and not have to worry about anything else.
Yeah. We want this, we want this show to basically be the escape from all of this shit, because that's another good I think I've mentioned him 3 times. You can see if my dad was pretty influence on me. He used to talk about, in the 80s, he was like, man, it was tough living through, the mid 80s and stuff. There's nukes, there's Soviets, are we going to go to World War III? The world's on fire, gas shortage, the whole 9. And he's like, but dude, for 2 hours when you went to a Dio concert, you just got drunk and watched a kick-ass rock show. You forgot about the Soviets and the nukes and all the bad shit and just jammed, had a good time. And that's, as good of a job as we can do of having that be the release. That's what we're trying to go do. You know what I mean? Just, social mask, that kind of stuff, just so everybody can kind of try to forget about this for a little while and just jam out.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's what I think everybody needs at this point. So you guys have shared the stage with some pretty sweet bands. I mean, look, so you shared bills with Puddle of Mud, Red Sun Rising. You played Sonic Temple and the Epicenter. Do you guys have a particularly favorite story from the road?
We have a couple.
That you would like to share that without lawsuits?
Of one story for sure in particular, and and it's great to get 2 perspectives of it, because it's a pretty good story. But you go first with yours, because that's really the only one that I have. That's like what else am I? You know what I mean?
So we're standing there, me, Ehab, my girlfriend Alyssa, and his girlfriend Katie.
Where are we at?
Epicenter, North Carolina.
Okay. I was just making sure we're talking about the same thing. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Okay. So we're standing there watching the Foo Fighters.
This is Sunday night. So we had played on Saturday. So this was like our day off. We were like going to watch the bands and stuff. And this was Foo Fighters' last band of the whole weekend.
Yeah. Right. So we're watching them jamming out, and we get a call from our photographer, John, who, if you watched interviews with us, every one of them's filmed by him. He did the Dancing with Fire music video. He was kind of like also like our acting tour manager at the time as well. He's worn a lot of hats.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, he's been there since day about 2 weeks.
Yeah,
he's been there.
Negative 2 weeks probably.
Yeah,
he was probably in it before.
Literally, he was like, I feel like there's a band that's going to
right. Yeah.
We love John. We just shit on him. But so he calls me. He's totally freaking out. He's like, yo, Justin is in a fist fight right now. There's some stuff you guys got to get here. So we, of course, go trotting off.
I am not a fighter at all. I had 1 fight before this. It was in the 7th grade. Okay, like I don't fight.
I'm loving how to fight.
You know what I'm saying?
So they had in the meantime, they had moved the bus to a different location that was in they had gotten a pass from somebody and went in the vendor area.
We had to go through so much security just to get to where we to that point. We got through so much security to get to where we were at. We were behind the main stage and where all the other vendors were, like he said, and there was no security anymore because you were that you had went through all the security at that point.
Right, okay.
So we go taking off running, and there's like 3 checkpoints like of security before you get to this parking area. None of us have passes. So me and Ehab are just like jogging, and they're like, "Hey, you got to stop." We're like, "No, we got to go." So the first one got us stopped pretty good, and we were like, were like, "Hey, no, if you go past here, we're gonna tase you. Like, don't go past here, bud. Like, you aren't allowed." We're like, "Uh-oh." So we were like, "No, seriously, we're in a band. We played here. Blah blah blah. Our friends in a fight. We got to go." And just thank God that one of those security guards was just like, "All right, man, you're cool. Just go ahead. We believe you." We were like, boom. We just split. We were running because that was like the second to last one. We were splitting, and then there was this last guy just sitting like on a chair outside the one fence, and we just went straight back. And he literally looks up from his phone, and he's like, "All right, just whatever." So by the time we get there, the dude has been thoroughly ass kicked by the police and other people, and Justin is sitting in one of the trailers,
like this RV kind of
RV trailer thing that our friend owns, and he's got like a bag of peas on his wrist, and his eye is just like, and there's somebody like butterfly bandaging his eye together. So we're like, okay, we need to figure out what went down. I was told that somebody was trying to break into the trailer next to where our bus was parked. This happened. This is not, I was told this actually happened because you remember this part.
Well, yeah, basically what happened is that we were, Nick and John and I were the only 3 of our like little group, and we were hanging out on some.
And Matt
of the rock.
No, Matt was with us.
Right.
Yeah.
Matt
our
was
roadie.
John, our photographer, had known some of the rock tenders that were working that week, and he had shot them in calendars and magazine shoots and all different sorts of things. So we were hanging out with them. And all of a sudden, so we're the only 3 guys hanging out with a lot of girls, and one of the girls comes running on. I'm just painting this picture just because, like, to give you the idea.
That's funny how it sounds.
Well, right, but I mean, to give you the idea of what happened. One of the girls comes running in on the RV and just screams bloody murder. Somebody's on our RV, broke into, they're stealing all of our stuff. We gotta go. Wow. Being the only men in sight, you're like, okay,
here we go.
I gotta get up.
Time to go to work.
So
he literally cracks up.
Right, yep.
Go.
So I lead the charge because I was of course, I was helped by other substances, I suppose, at that point. So I was rearing to go.
Courage, baby.
And
courage.
Get you. And so sure enough, I go turning the corner, and there's an identical RV right there, and there's another female now is outside screaming bloody murder, pointing into the RV. I'm like, okay, here I go. So I go into the RV, and there's this just very much taller than myself man, okay, who is also bigger than me, like more mass. I'm like, I don't stand a chance here. But luckily enough for me, his back was turned to me, and he had who I thought was our photographer, John Payne, pinned to the ground, because I heard this another man's voice on the ground, and it sounded to me like John. And at that moment, I almost like don't remember it. Basically, I remember grabbing him by his shirt and getting him to the point where he was in the stairway of the RV, and he was kind of like holding his hands up trying to keep himself in. So I just took my foot and freaking kicked him out. And then Nick, the way that Nick always tells the story is like, at that point, we're waiting on the RV outside of the RV to see what's happening. And he always says that I apparently Superman punched off of almost like WWE style, like off of the top rope, but I was at the top of the RV steps, and I just kind of come flying out and Superman punched him. And so, but probably didn't land that good on being He got me one time pretty good, and then the guy that I wound up getting up off the ground was the rock tenders. He was like basically their boss, their like manager, the guy that was paying for them to get he was driving them all around, and like wow. So it wound up being a good thing that we were there. And anyway, we all got separated. They pinned the guy down or whatever. The crazy thing is that this guy had been hired like earlier that week to work as security.
Oh, wow.
And he was wearing a black security, like, white security shirt.
Yeah.
And like everybody else was wearing that night. And I guess the word is that he never showed up to work on the first day. And this was at the end of the weekend, at the end of the night, Sunday night. So I'm thinking to myself, like, was he literally doing this the entire week, going through looting, shit through RVs or vendor RVs and stuff? And we just he found the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yep.
The very last. And luckily they got their stuff. He had bags full of stuff. I mean, it was crazy.
Wow.
So it was, that was, and then that's when it was so funny from my perspective too, because at this point it was all,
dust and settled.
The cops writing their reports and stuff, and I'm sitting up on the RV, and I'm like, I'm like, nah, I'm good, I'm whatever, and I had actually broken my wrist. So
geez.
This is a whole other side. Yeah, the entire album that we recorded in LA, I recorded on a broken wrist. We'll get to that in a second. Anyways, so wrist is broken. John's really concerned about my eyes. Like, no, dude, you don't understand your eye. I got a butterfly your eye. And I'm like, yeah, but my wrist really hurts, man. I don't like my eye that bad, but my wrist.
I don't have to use my eye to play guitar.
Right, yeah.
Solos.
So like I essentially at the end, my perspective was I'm sitting there and all this is happening, and then I see them, Ehab and Tommy, like running in, like ready for a fight, like what, like, and then it was like all over with at that point.
Yeah, because me and Ehab were, and Matt. Our roadie Matt was with us.
They were all ready to go, man.
We were ready to go, dude. We rolled in there, all three of us, because we're like, I won't say we're the beefcakes here.
Well, you would probably last more than me. Clearly, I broke my wrist.
But me and Ehab are always the ones that tie on the arm wrestling contest, except for John. John's a monster.
And John
has an arm of concrete.
The crazy thing, John is the one person that like
didn't throw a punch.
No, but you do not want to fuck with him, John. Because he is like he would kick any of our asses.
Yeah,
we could all try to.
He was an iron worker and a roofer.
So, but he goes and takes like a 2-minute phone call, the freaking 30 seconds that it takes for this to happen. I'm like, talk about timing.
Jeez.
So, flash forward, a week later, we're supposed to freaking open up the main stage at Sonic Temple.
Yeah, because this was an epicenter, and 1 week later, we were supposed to play at Sonic Temple.
Okay.
We were going.
Yeah, and I have a broken freaking wrist. I go and confirm, clean break. I'm like, well, that sucks. So, I'm like, all right, weighing my options and get through what I need to get. Thank God. I mean, somehow it like wasn't it was just enough to like really get by, and like the people that I respect, like some of like my peers, I'm like, hey, listen, like, was I fucking just so bad? And they were like, no, dude, like I didn't really I know I was not at 100%.
Yes.
But
was I bad enough to be a stinker?
Yeah. Thank God it was left hand. If it was my fretting hand, there would have been no way.
Yeah.
But thankfully I was able to strum, and essentially like after that, it was literally like 3 weeks later, we were going to LA to rehearse and record. And so I'm like going to Doc, and I'm like, hey, he's like, you're going to need surgery. Like it's going to need to be repaired. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, okay, well, can't do that just yet, because there's like all the, recovery time, cast, all that stuff.
Right.
There's get into, this, everybody's schedules. There's just, so I'm like, okay, so will you make me like a really heavy duty splint or something easy that I can like take on and off, and basically give me support throughout the day. And then when I need to play and record instead, and he did. And basically I lived with that for probably like I didn't have the surgery until like mid-August. So it had been broken for a solid 2 months before I had the surgery.
Wow.
Yeah, it was something. It was something else.
Oh my gosh, man, that's a hell of a story.
Yeah, that's the best road story we got. We'll be here till Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, guys, man, I've kept you a while. Thank you so much for joining me and telling me of these awesome stories. Tell me about how the band works, because that's always fascinating. How, as a non-musician, to learn how bands work, because they're all different.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Every band and everybody has their own vibe and their own juju and the way that they do it. And that's great for podcasts like this, honestly, because it's like I getting to listen to people talk and getting to know who they are as people is
crucial.
Yeah,
that's
crucial.
That's what I love doing. I love finding out about, well, first of all, new bands like you guys, and finding out what's behind some of the albums that I love. Because I've been lucky enough to have some pretty freaking awesome people on this show. Like, sometimes I'm blown away by some of the people I've been lucky enough to have on here. Is there, well, I know there's got to be. What is the social media presence for you guys? How can people follow you and keep track of what you're up to? Which may or may not include drawings of Elvis.
Of Elvis album covers.
Exactly.
Facebook, South of Eden. Instagram, at South of Eden Band.
They're all, it's at South of Eden Band are the handles. And then our merch is going to be at districtlines.com /South of Eden. And then obviously you can stream our EP anywhere that you stream music, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, Pandora. And I'm going to leave so many out. YouTube. So wherever you stream music, you can find South of Eden.
EP is called The Talk.
The Talk, yes.
It's awesome. And I loved it. I've been listening to it. I've been streaming it since you guys sent me the link, and it's awesome. It just, like I said many, many times this episode, it just kind of brings me back to being in high school, the prevailing sounds of that time. And it's like comfort food. It just makes me feel good.
Great to hear. Yeah. We want to, like Tommy said earlier, play the music that we kind of grew up, loving, and just like like we were inspired by all those bands, man. And, we're just, super fortunate and lucky to have this, this opportunity to go and play these songs live, hopefully in the near future, and put out more music that hopefully beats this. And we're really excited.
Train rolling.
Yeah, because we've got 6 more songs to add on to this, and there's like, I think about some of those songs. I'm like, I can't wait to put some, because we definitely we tried to give make the EP like the kind of pick 4 songs that are the most different from each other. You know what I mean? And give it a very broad spectrum and a taste of what the whole album is, and
a sampler platter.
Yeah, and when you hit the whole album, that's another thing. Just to end it on, I think it's just one more thing that we don't see enough of today is bands putting whole albums together. Because we know how people listen to music. We're 23. We know how the world works, but still, just to put that little, like, we're tiering it and setting it up so that it feels not similar to the EP, but it gives you that same ride, but just.
Yeah, I mean,
it's everything we got.
You're going to be able to, if you want to put the album South of Eden, if you want to drop it on vinyl and hear the actual tape that you can hear in the recording, that because we recorded the tape, like if you want to have that experience,
it's possible. Have it. That's what, because we all love that experience. We all do that because we're geeks and we know it. And I'm okay with being a nerd.
Yeah, me too.
But you know what I mean? Amen to that. So we always want to be sure that, any music that we release in any way, that somebody can put it on and listen to it as we would want to and still get that experience.
Well, as a consumer, I appreciate that. And as a fellow music geek, I appreciate it. So thank you guys.
Thank you, dude. Thank you
for listening and liking it, man. It means a lot.